It's like traffic court in here. Yeah, you were illegally parked. You're not going to get off. Anybody ever go to traffic court? I'm one of those suckers who I actually send in I want a court appearance to complain. Yep. In the old days in Chicago, it used to work. It's like basically if you showed up, they kind of had pity on you. But now, not a chance. Not a chance. But I would like to have like a dueling, like this setup, like I go into court and all of a sudden I've got a microphone and a table facing the judge. Your Honor, you are out of order. Tonight's episode submitted for your approval. Traffic court with one Mr. BOOMSHAKALAKA. Judge, you are about to embark on a journey so bizarre, so twisted, you're not going to know what hit you. You will find the remains of what used to be your judgeship somewhere in the Twilight Zone. No, you're out of order! You will now rise, Judge. Mr. BOOMSHAKALAKA enters the room. The power of the mic, like, you don't know who I am. You think I'm just some idiot who parked in a stupid spot. Your kids know me. Call your kids. Tell them you're going to give Mr. BOOMSHAKALAKA a ticket, you idiot. I'll sign my bucket parking ticket for $100, okay? And then maybe your son will talk to you again. Because if you behave at home the way you're behaving with me right now, you got no relationship with your kids. Glenn Case. I wanna take you higher. That's the origin of BOOMSHAKALAKA, you guys. Did anybody know that? So I was in the studio one day, and there was a guy down the hall. There were like 4 or 5 sound guys at the Midway Valley plant. And it was just like a little dorm room. And one guy was in there listening to Sly and the Family Stone. I wanna take you higher. Boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka. Bow down down. Anyone know that song? Bow down down. Bow down down. Hey, hey, hey. But he said, Sly's saying boo shakalaka. Like you look up the lyrics, there's no M on it, there's no boom. Boo shakalaka, like a boo shakalaka. And so this guy in the office, like there's literally like 4 offices in the size of this stage with little, shitty doors. He goes, hey John, tell Tim to say boom shakalaka. And John goes, hey Tim, say boom shakalaka. And I'm in there, I go, what the fuck is boom shakalaka? He goes, I don't know, John just told me to tell you to say it. What was it again? Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka! All right, what's next? The gaming gods, it was manna from heaven, no idea. Such a random thing, maybe the most known coin phrase, and it would be nice if I got a piece of that action. Huh? Boom shakalaka, copyright, trademark, whatever. I saw it in a freaking Cheetos commercial. Some old grandma goes to the tiger, boom shakalaka. $800 for that game. Seemed like a king's ransom, man. $800. When I looked for cars back then, I was looking for cars under 1,000, so that was a lot of money. I bought a car with boom shakalaka. But then I found out the year later that it made $1 billion. I went in to record another game, probably a pinball game, and there was an article on the board in the cafeteria where they had all the different arcade games and pinball games, and it said NBA Jam tops sales at $1 billion. And I was absolutely convinced that one of the guys out there, everybody has a great sense of humor, they typed it up, printed it up as a kind of a joke piece for everyone to motivate the team or whatever. Ha ha ha, we made $1 billion. And I said, who did this? They said, what? I said, this says $1 billion, that's funny. I said, no, it really made $1 billion. That's when I found out. A year later, I had no idea. And people say, did you know it was going to be popular? Or when did you know it was going to be popular or successful? Well, that goddamn moment, I knew it was popular or successful. And I knew that I was the poorest, stupidest son of a bitch in the universe for $1 billion game. Someone figured out one time it's like 1/800th of 1% of a millionth of a percent is what I got on that game. Anyway, so it was interesting that at $50 an hour, something that seemed like a ton of money to, do pinball game voices. Like I do voices just, riding on the bus. It's just what I do. Voices coming out of me. So someone to pay me money to do a silly voice was great, but then that moment was where I realized that this might be somewhat of a business, and all these years later, I'm still learning, and people are still in every aspect. Like One Up Arcade right now, they're re-releasing NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. Well, they licensed the agreement with EA Sports, and they don't have to pay anyone. Obviously, Mark Trammell designed the game; he's not getting another penny. It's like music changes hands, art, but it sucks. Like Brian Cullen, who created Rampage. If you create a game with a company, they own the rights, not you. And so when that was made into the movie with The Rock, you didn't see a penny. You got to meet him, you got to do a little cameo, which is great. But One Up Arcade is doing NBA Jam, which they've got tournament edition, regular edition, and I don't get a penny. Same with NFL Blitz. Then they called me, they wanted me to do some promotional work for them, and they offered me an arcade cabinet for it. Let me see if Chase Bank will take that for the mortgage this week. Hold on. Get back to you. Now, you know what? They don't take NBA Jam cabinets. Can you give me cash? Oh, we don't have a budget for that. Don't have a budget, can't have a budget, haven't planned for a budget, two different things. You're not a soup kitchen, a charity giving these games away. Last time I checked, they're selling for $699. But anyway, that's the end of my gripe session. But it's because everybody, when I come to shows or online, they go, "Hey Tim, have you seen this?" And their pictures just throwing me pictures of NBA Jam or Blitz. You must be so excited! Wow, One Up Arcade! And I go, "No, not really, not really." So I'm going to kind of start with just like, if anyone has read the book or heard the book NBA Jam, really cool book, Boss Fight Books. And this guy approached me a few years ago and said, I want to do a book about NBA Jam. And I was thinking, what's that going to be, a 4-page book? And 3 years of research, 60 interviews later with everyone from NBA officials that, almost did not let NBA Jam have the NBA license. It went into all these backstories and who was Mark Trammell and how did we create motion capture, the first time motion capture, along with Mortal Kombat was the first ones to really use it at Midway. But it was all brand new, like all this stuff. So it's really cool. In this book, you find out how much stuff had to happen and go right and luck in order for this incredible game to be made. And one of the most incredible things is back then, teams, the entire team to make a game was like 5 people. Like a couple programmers, artists, they all had to do different things. You couldn't just be a specialist in one area, doing the artwork and doing the coding and doing the programming. So one at a time, in a few month period, Mortal Kombat comes out, made in a very short period of time, and then NBA Jam made in, I think it's less than a year overall. And then they become the 2 biggest games Midway ever did, back to back. So anyway, the book is out, and it's just been optioned by a production company. They're going to make a documentary, shopping it to Amazon and Netflix. So hopefully we'll see that in the next year or so. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. Who would think that something as like an extra bit of money for me would turn into something that resembles a career, and it has not been something that I could financially rely on, because I said in the early days there wasn't a lot of money. By the time I made some of the other games, Slugfest hits, where I was getting more of a decent paycheck, suddenly the company's out of business in early 2000s, and that seemed to be basically the death of the arcade era. And certainly pinball games were pretty much dead at that point, and there were no more arcade titles, and all the work for any sports games was all sim games, Madden, broadcasters, whatever. So I was just a relic, kind of dead and buried. EA Sports came along in 2010, 2011. We remade NBA Jam. Unfortunately, they didn't put a lot of backing behind it to advertise and market it. Of the one time they could have, EA Sports did the game, they could have done an NBA Jam commercial, the height of great duos in the NBA. There were so many new stars. My voice for the generation that maybe was playing NBA Jam when they're 10, and now they're like 27, 30 years old. It would have been the perfect opportunity. But most people, and how many people here knew that EA Sports released NBA Jam in 2010? Yeah, handful. But yeah, most people, when I've told them or showed them a copy, like, I didn't know. And then we remade Blitz in 2012. And most people didn't know, and the NFL took out all the late hits. So, anyway, my career was basically dead and buried. And then I started, I worked at a New Football League a few years back, and started to get some exposure in these conventions, and I didn't even know they existed. So this has been a real treat for me, and those of you who know me, and Glenn and Rachel, you know, I had no idea how many people held these games like dear. I knew that they were popular. I know they, you know, people liked them, but what I get is like, you're the voice of my childhood. It's a crazy thing to hear. Like who can say that? And who in the arcade business, game business can say that, you know? A few other people with recognizable voices, but I really, you know, am so grateful and thankful, you know, how it is revered, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to meet people as opposed to just, you know, you've done something, you move on, and like, I would have never looked back. If it wasn't for these shows, I would never have known. So I just wanted to tell you guys that. It means a lot to me just showing up here at the end of the show. I feel blessed. The other thing that I have done though, and I realize that, you know, no one's waking up in the morning, as you guys all know, probably most of you here at the show are creative types, you know, and have that, you know, that childhood, you know, wonder and curiosity. You wouldn't be into the you know, the gaming tribe, as I call it, if you didn't have that. You got to make things happen for yourself, and you know, I realized at a certain point, not a lot of people wake up in the morning, first thing going, hey, I wonder what Tim Kitzrow, that BOOMSHAKALAKA guy's doing. I bet he's waiting tables. Him poor son of a bitch. I'll call him. I'll give him a job. Hey, I work for the Houston Rockets. I wish I could give Tim Kitzrow a job where he could get some good money and good exposure. I just like, no, that's not going to happen. So I had to do it myself, and I realized that most of the people probably out in the NBA are now 30-something years old, and I did the math. I go, oh, they were like kids when the game came out, so they probably know who I am. Like in the old days, if I called up an executive or someone in the NBA, you're like, who the fuck are you? They'd never heard of video games. So I realized that I'm in this sweet spot now where people who run corporations play my games. So I started to leave cold call voicemail messages to NBA teams, like, you've reached Trey Smith with the Dallas Mavericks. Trey can't come to the phone right now because he's on fire. No, seriously, he's heating up some pizza in the toaster oven in the cafeteria and his sleeve caught fire. You know, the baking powder, or is it baking soda? What do you throw at a guy when he's on fire? Anyway, leave your message at the buzzer and you will be rejected. Or, you've hit Trey Smith with the Milwaukee Bucks. To hit a 2, press 3. To hit a 3, press 2. For all other options, press or play, BOOMSHAKALAKA. Whatever. Yeah, it's a long weekend. But you know, these guys would, like, you know, listen to their message at their desk and go, the fuck was that? And if you can call me back and like this, hello? Yeah, it's Trey Smith from the Dallas Mavericks. Is this Tim Kitzrow? Are you really the voice of NBA Jam? You know, BOOMSHAKALAKA! And that's how I got some of my first gigs. So, you know, worked with the Rockets, worked with the Golden State Warriors for 2 years during their championships, where they would send me highlights, and I got to imagine this. Going back, you know, 30 years, I'm sitting in this booth, you know, you heard the story, BOOMSHAKALAKA, and now the world champions, and Steph Curry, they're sending me just silent, like, video from the court with no announcers, the squeaking sneakers, just like an NBA Jam. And it's on my computer, and they said, do whatever you want. I mean, what a dream that is. What a dream. I get to be the guy who does the custom NBA Jam stuff. And as you see it in real time, like something I could never do with, the trouble with me in the video games in the early days was, I wanted to be more creative. I went to Second City, you know, I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live, whatever. I wanted to be Ben Stiller. And, but I found a different path, but I was always trying to find a way to do more, to add more to it. You know, they give you a script, it's great, you put everything you can into it, but it wasn't until like NFL Blitz, Slugfest, and the NBA Jam for EA Sports where they just said, go with it, right, do what you want. And that's where it became like an Adult Swim for me, where I could, you know, create this, write the lyrics. You know, they weren't saying, here are the lyrics, we want another top 10 single, you write the lyrics, you know. And so now, for looking at these clips, I would just sit there like a kid, you know, on Christmas Eve, like the excitement of going, and that's going to be played on the largest Jumbotron in the league and on their social media. So I see an image of Steph hitting some consecutive threes, and right away, like, what does NBA champion Steph Curry have for breakfast? Snap! Crackle and pop, nice crisp threes. Make them a part of your balanced NBA diet. And then I would send a note along. I say, every time the ball hits, the consecutive, do the little cartoon caption, snap, crackle, pop, and with the rim on fire. And there it is. Like, I think it, I do it, there it is. And another one, like, you know, time is winding down. What's for dinner? Chef Curry's cooking up curry surprise. It's fast, easy to make, and a real crowd pleaser. And the crowd is on their feet. I mean, what a dream. And I do it in Houston, I did the live lineup intro for the Rockets. A 6'11" center, he didn't go to college, but he got his NBA degree from Dunking on You, Dwight Howard, kaboom! And then they said, hey Tim, here's a live mic for the game. And I stand next to the DJ table, I go, you guys, you don't know what you're doing here. You're giving me a live mic. One of the first plays of the game, Harden steals the ball, breakaway dunk. He goes down, he goes up, whoop, boom shakalaka! Whole place just went nuts, and Harden's probably going like, what? I'm like 10 years old again in my room playing, and then I got a little carried away, you know, and one of them, they were playing the Bulls that night. I think it was Kirk Heinrich. He gets blocked in the corner trying to put up a three, and I go, rejected in real time. And then he got blocked again because I think he was like, what the fuck was that? Is the NBA Jam guy in my head? Like, he's the voice of your childhood, and he's telling you, you suck right now. You've been rejected. So he got all fucked up, and he puts it up again, and he got blocked again. I go, can't buy a bucket. He's like, what the fuck? And in my earpiece, I hear, Tim, what the fuck are you doing? I go, I said rejected. He missed it. And he goes, you can't say it in real time. You're messing with their heads. It didn't occur to me, like, announcers don't call the game like announcers on TV in real time. After a shot, for two, in a hurry. But they don't call the game, so. Got carried away, like I said. They give me a live mic, what the fuck do you expect? Oh my God, was that fun. And then the highlight thing was fun too. You know, I feel like I said, like an old timer for a long time. I was working in a restaurant and someone said, hey, I heard the guy was an NBA champ. Wow, so you have any like new games coming out? As I'm putting on my apron, I was like, no. Stop working on the patio tonight. It's 100 degrees. Nobody's gonna sit out there. That was my life. You know, so then when I get these calls to do this, I'm pitching myself. It's Cinderella, man. I might as well have shown up in a fucking pumpkin. You know, so I'm a guy who was working in a restaurant. Suddenly, I'm calling this game, and you know, it was Harden's first 50-point game. The commissioner was there. It was the 20th year back-to-back anniversary of the Rockets championship. Next day, USA Today has a picture of Harden that says Harden hits 50. And Rockets do NBA Jam highlight, reel, which is best we've ever seen. I'm like, holy shit! I went back to the restaurant still. You know, so this crazy Cinderella life. People see me here like, oh wow. Like, yeah, it's hard work, you know, to be established. There are some people, you know, have done really well, especially in the, you know, with the animated movies, everything else. But my point is, it's all about fun. I always follow the fun, and I'm lucky as hell to be that guy. The Rockets video, I have to tell you a couple of highlights there. And I love the fact that they, you know, my love of Second City, things happening in the moment. So I don't have to sit and ponder very much. I just see it, and it's like, there's Harden doing his little crossover dribble. So it's like, this is a limited time TV offer. It slices and dices, it dunks in your face. Announcing the amazing Hardenizer beard sold separately. Contact us now and we'll throw in this free dagger at the buzzer. Now with MVP strength. Boom shakalaka. Beautiful thing. So they did it like I said, do it like an infomercial. So up on the Jumbotron, when I said beard sold separately, they had a picture of him and his beard just flashing, with a number to call, you know, that kind of stuff. Another play, he comes down, he's like rocking Rubio with his dribble, and I go, how about a little game of Twister, Rubio? Left foot green, right foot blue. How about my hot hand in your red face? Kaboom! And they put, when Rubio fell down, he's like a crab, like on all fours. So I go, you know, I put a twister mat under that. So the graphics department put a twister mat under that. Another great one where it was a good play when the Warriors were playing Rudy Gobert and what was his team, the Nuggets, I forget. Who knows? Anyway, yes, it's Jazz. Yeah, he was in the playoffs. So he's coming up and doing his little thing. So I'm like, time to put on your boogie shoes. You know, and I said, do a disco thing. So they put a disco ball for the graphics. They put an afro on Curry and mirrored sunglasses. Do a little dance, and he's dancing. And as he goes by Gobert tugs his shirt. Give a little tug. Get down tonight. As the ball goes through, and they're all going down tonight for Curry. That's a beautiful thing. And what I want to do, and I've been pushing for, and it's hard because I describe myself as a man without a country, meaning I don't have a company behind me. I represent NBA Jam because I'm the voice, the spirit of it, and I love it, and I don't want it to go away. But no one at EA Sports who still holds the title is interested in doing anything else with it, but I love it, you know? And I want to have, like, you know, you've got Shaq the Fool, you've got all these, you know, talking heads, Rachel Nichols, this and that. We've seen the same highlight Sports Center. I want to have that 1 or 2 minute Mr. BOOMSHAKALAKA minute to do the kind of things I just described. So that's my ultimate goal, and you're going to help me, sir. Yeah. I'm going to break it up just a little bit. Just take a couple random questions for the fun of it. You know, people have been coming by the table. There must be some good, fun questions and interesting off-topic things. And if there are any pinball people here, I always like to mention my pinball games, which I'm really proud of how I got my start. So, any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, man.
But I'm going to use the mic since I set it up and stuff, you know?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
By the
Mike.
way, oh, thanks. My name's Storm. So, what would you say is the most surprising interaction you had with an NBA player?
Surprising interaction?
Yeah, and like obviously who was?
One was Steve Smith. While I was working in a steakhouse in Chicago not that long ago, one of the other waiters, because I would never do this, went over to him. I guess it was during March Madness, and he was doing the broadcast for TNT. And he goes, and my friend was waiting on him. He goes, "Hey, that dude over there, he's the voice of NBA Jam." Because Steve just took a shot. Steve Smith gets up, walks over to me, you know, while I'm probably delivering drinks to a table or something. He goes, "Hey man, are you really the Boom Shakalaka guy?" Like an 8-year-old still says it. "Are you really the Boom Shakalaka guy?" And I'm looking up at him like, "Are you really the Hall of fucking Famer?" And he goes, "Man," he goes, "I can't wait till I tell my kids I met you. We were just playing NBA Jam last night on the big arcade." I go, "Where?" He goes, "In my basement." I go, "Why do you have an NBA Jam arcade in your basement?" He goes, "Dude, that's what they gave us to be in the game." I didn't know it. But it was like, he said, "Wait till I tell my kids I met you." Huh. I'll be right back. "Did you want another drink, sir?" "Oh, I'll be back." Weird moment. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre.
Thank you. I thought you were gonna pull faster on us and do the copy pasta that people post of Steve.
The what?
The copy pasta of Steve Smith in a grocery store being an asshole. That people put it on the internet. It's a fake story.
Oh, I don't know.
It's funny because he's like one of the nicest guys.
He's a sweetheart.
And since nobody else is here, do you have if you had to pick one all-time favorite NBA player, if you could, who would it be?
Well, the guy who I fell in love with, the reason I fell in love with basketball was Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was playing for the Bucks, and I was such a short kid my whole life, and I loved basketball, and I was obsessed with tall people. My brother and I measured ourselves every month, and in our room, and we were shorties, and I was 5'1" in 7th grade. I was 5'4" in 8th grade, 5'5", on and on. So obsessed with getting taller. So when I was little, the idea that, I think he was listed as 7'4" back then, or 7'2". So that's why I got in. But then I just absolutely fell in love with Oscar Robertson. Then when I lived in Albany, New York, upstate, Phil Jackson was coaching the CBA League, the Continental Basketball Association, and his team that played in an Armory made it to the finals, and I was going to all the games in the Armory, got to hang out with Phil Jackson afterwards, eating chicken wings in a local bar. I moved out to LA, 84, Michael Jordan's in the Olympics. I moved to Chicago, Phil Jackson comes out there, and now it's like, oh, Phil's my coach, Michael's gonna be in Chicago? So I got to watch the whole Bulls thing from 87 on. So yeah, MJ, and as a waiter, I waited on him like 4 times, and nicest guy in the world. Like normal people, not even me, in a restaurant when the waiter has interactions, do I always make eye contact or always say thank you? In the middle of conversations, I bring my Diet Coke, thank you, looks me in the eye, calls me Tim, amazing. So yeah, I looked up to him a lot.
Right on, thank you.
Oh, and I could dunk a basketball. That's the happy story about me being a shorty. When I finally got to hit 6 feet, like by college, I was still growing in college, finally dunked a basketball.
I wanted to be a player for a while, and you can see. I'm no Muggsy Bogues.
Hey.
So what's up with EA paying people in NBA Jam machines here? I'm noticing a pattern here.
The EA and NBA Jam?
Yeah.
Well, they don't have responsibility right now. It's the One Up Arcade. They're doing the licensing agreement, and it's hard. I mean, I understand. Business is a business, but I offered my services to One Up Arcade to help work promoting. I say, hey, I go to shows all over the country. We could raffle off One Up Arcade machines. I could sign them, like all the kind of stuff that help get exposure. And I think they even advertise on the QVC network or something. And I looked it up, and I saw a woman, going, and we have something very interesting from One Up Arcade. It's a basketball game. It's called NBA Jam, and this was very popular, I think, back when in the 90s. Are you fucking kidding me? And they said, yeah, we can offer you, I said, I want a arcade machine. It's like, you know, and I'm just to make a point here, like, I'm not Mick Jagger, but, you know, $1 billion game, it's got some clout behind it. So say that, you know, the Rolling Stones collection was worth $1 billion. Someone buys the rights to all Stones music, and they come up to Mick and go, yeah, we're putting together a box set, you know, but only your best songs. And we're wondering if you could help us promote it. Oh, we'll give you a free box set, Mick. You get your foot on him, mate.
So I've noticed there's a lot of like localisms about Chicago in your humor.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about, you know, growing up in Chicago and how that's molded you and you know, changed like the way that you are? And your humor?
Well, I think, and I came to Chicago in '87. I think I was 30 something years old. But that Midwest mentality, and I hate the cliches like when the Bears players are like, you know, this is Chicago, it's hard head, lunch pail. Oh, great, hard head, a lunch pail. But it is like at Williams Valley Midway, it is a factory on the river in this west side of town, and you walk through a factory and you see 100 pinball machines being assembled by hardworking people, and you have dirty little corridors and filthy little offices. I mean, and if you watch the movie, the film documentary Insert Coin, they said that the CEO wanted that kind of like make all of his guys work hard. Like there's no plus or benefits. There's no plus stuff. You know, it's a factory. You're turning out games, and you know, as I said, I ended up working in the restaurants the whole time. So when I was watching these people assembling games, like my heart goes out to them. Like everybody has to work hard for a living, and even though I kind of vented here, I have total respect for just hard work, putting in the work, and whatever it is, and don't complain, and then work harder. You know, make the best of the situation. So it's a you know, in Hollywood, you know, and you might have more of an ego or more of a letdown that you were someone. What if you had a hit song or a hit TV show back in the '90s? You know, yeah, we had a pop culture. Everybody has their 15 minutes, so I had it. I was going to let myself become bitter and be, you know, like the whole rest of my life, I should. No, you just keep having fun. You just keep working hard. It's just, yeah, it's hard hat lunch pail mentality. You know?
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Glenn.
Hello there. So I am curious, I believe your first pinball gig, the first gig you got was Gilligan's Island,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. Of all of the pinball ones that you worked on, were there any of them that got handed to you as an assignment that you were especially really excited, like maybe the Elvira ones, or like what comes to mind where they say, we want you to work on this, and it was especially exciting?
That's a good question, and I think it sounds maybe a little cavalier, but I was always so looking forward to the work, I kind of assumed I could do anything that they put in front of me or threw my way. And as I said, since I was a kid, I was doing voices. I was mimicking Mr. Howell when I was a kid, you know? So when they said, can you do Mr. Howell? I said, how much does it pay? He said, $50. I go, well, I'd rather do Ginger, but, you know, make it 100 and I'll do the millionaire and his wife. Threesome, a little menage a trois. But no, Gilligan, maybe we could bribe Kona. That was easy. And then Rod Serling made me think for a second, because I always loved the Twilight Zone, but I may have mimicked him, but I didn't think, gee, I'm the best impressionist, you know, for the job. But they put this, you know, some of the voice samples in my ear, and I was able to mimic it. So that was the one where I go, this is a big responsibility, because I have so much respect for him, and I hate people butchering like Beatles songs. So if you know, go to karaoke or you're a cover band, don't do a Beatles song unless you can do it justice. So that was the one that I was most, and it wasn't nervous, but I was just like, I wanted to do it so well, and I found out later, I think you mentioned, that had to be approved by his estate, the Rod Serling estate. And I had no idea, once again, talking about being naive, that I thought I was just, oh, it's Tim, he's here, he's done all these games, Gilligan's Island, he's a friend of ours, $50 an hour, he'll do Rod Serling. That they were doing a search, and through agencies where other people would have made $500 an hour, but they couldn't find someone to do them as well as I could. And they still paid me $50 an hour for it. But the other games, like Elvira, I wasn't that familiar with her when I did the first Scared Stiff. What time is it? Time to get scared, Steve! But after doing the first one, years later, Stern Pinball, which almost went under, they brought me back in, the original team, and I was super excited. And now I have more, you know, a historical perspective on, you know, what the whole thing is about, and Elvira. and I got to play 7 different characters in that, and I had the time of my life. I mean, just after all those years, it was fun to come full circle, like after all the sports video games, to be back in pinball, but doing 7 character voices. I mean, everybody knows me as Mr. BOOMSHAKALAKA, a sports guy, so it was nice that they had the confidence to go, you're gonna do all the ghosts, you're gonna do the 50s horror, sci-fi, movie trailer guy, and you're gonna be the sidekick. Elvira, I don't usually come out before dark, and right now, I'm getting nailed in the coffin big time. When the coffins are rocking, don't come a-knocking. And in the end, we won an award, a TWIPY award, which is the highest honor for the pinball industry for that year for the best call-outs in the game. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Hello. So besides NBA Jam, what's been your favorite role to play?
Besides that, it is, well, slugfest for my video games. And once again, it goes back to, in the early days, it was just, I don't like to be a guy who just reads copy. And when I go in for my voiceover auditions, they've got some shitty copy for a commercial, I always have to change it or rearrange it or have something that's actually funny to say. You know, when you watch commercials, you listen to just how dry, because they're people who have real talent are not writing shitty copy for shitty products. They're doing real things. So my fun is rearranging them. People say, would you like to be like a sports commentator? No, because I want the freedom to go off the rails like I'm doing with you guys. If I can't have the improvisation, the fun, so once again, Slugfest allowed me to write, they called it a video game, I saw it as, I'm writing a cartoon series. It's these 2 guys in a baseball booth, and I got one of the funniest, coolest guys in Chicago, an iconic DJ who's a stand-up comedian who had this character, Jimmy Shorts, and he was my partner, and I would sit for a couple of months just writing the script and all the crazy shit I've always wanted to say watching a game, that Harry Carey kind of thing, like say anything moment. I could do it. The freedom was incredible to have the confidence of I don't know how much the budget for those games were then, but let's just say, 10 million or something in that. But it's like if there was a 10 or $20 million movie budget, they go, here, write the script, no questions asked, just do it. And that freedom and fun is the best for me, so Slugfest. And then, once again, going back to Elvira, just being silly, playing a ton of characters. But yeah, good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's up, Adam?
Hey, Tim. I'm Chris.
Yeah, Chris Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Adam, how are you?
No. No, I was asking.
Chris.
I was just
Chris,
going to ask
not Adam.
more about. Were you on the TV broadcast ever when you were helping with the NBA?
I did a couple things. I did when EA Sports, and the one good thing EA did do when the biggest thing they did when the Jam was released, they put me on Sports Center. Not Sports Center, Sports. It's the Colin Coward one. What's there? Sports Nation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So kind of fun. Well, I did that. And I also did the Fox Sports in Los Angeles for the Clippers game. But so I'm going to be on in Bristol, Connecticut for the Sports Center with Colin Coward and Michelle Beadle to promote NBA Jam for EA Sports. This is a big comeback, right? And they were big off the other restaurant for good this time.
Yeah.
Get on TV. So I go to the airport, this time 3 hours early, just in case all of Chicago is on fire and there are no trains to the airport.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss this chance. So I get to the airport 3 hours early. And as I'm kind of checking in, I'm kind of nervous. I hear going, oh, we're going to the Tri-Cities today. And I'm like, yeah, guess so, whatever, the ticket. And it's like, what's in Bristol, Connecticut? Hartford, that would be one. Bristol, we'll be in this city in Connecticut. Anyway, and I just it's in my mind, that's weird. I've never heard of that area called the Tri-Cities. So I go to the lounge at the gate, and I fall asleep, and I wake up, there's nobody in the gate. I think I missed the fucking plane. I'm not going to miss this thing for ESPN. And I go up there, I missed my plane. What's going on? Oh, it got switched to another gate. But they're boarding now. They're closing the door. And it was like those crazy commercials, running full speed through the airport. Got there. They just closed the door. They made an exception. They opened it. I get on. I've got my sport coat, and I think I'm looking pretty cool, like a traveling, successful, creative business guy. I sit down next to a beautiful woman. Hi, how are you? Fold my raincoat, put it up in the overhead, sit back, relax, Yeah, gonna do some business. Feel like a hot shot. And she's, okay. And then I hear them come on and go, okay, well, there's about an hour or an hour flight to Bristol, Tennessee, the Tri-City area. Bristol, Tennessee. The fuck? And I go, I'm on the wrong flight. And she goes, wait a minute, what? And I said, the stewardess comes over, the flight attendant, and I go, I'm on the wrong flight. She goes, what are you talking about? She goes, where are you going? I go, I'm going to Bristol. She goes, we're going to Bristol. I said, I'm going to Bristol, Connecticut. She goes, you're on the wrong flight. I go, I'm trying to tell you. She goes, the door's closed. I don't know if I can get you off. They got me off, and you know, my exit with the woman that I was trying to, like, hey, I'm doing business. Toilet paper on my shoe, running out of there like a fucking idiot. And I was like, what's up with that guy? And I was trying to figure out, how did I screw it up so bad that I got on, first missed the first game, then I'm on the wrong flight. Turns out that the guys who booked it were from Vancouver, Canada for EA Sports, and they didn't know that there was a Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Connecticut, so they had me on the wrong flight. Wow. She said, well, the next flight out is I think it was the last flight out. If there's one at midnight, it was at midnight. And it got me in at like 3 in the morning, because the change in time.
Yeah.
It was a half-hour drive. I'm in my hotel at like 4:30, have to be up at 6 for my first ever on TV.
Wow.
And I show up, and they had some other like Disney star there as special guest. They've got the NBA Jam thing there and all the cameras. And so they're just gonna basically do this intro. And I'm like, hi everybody. When I'm not saying things like, he's on fire and boom shakalaka, I'm watching Sports Nation. Blah, 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 blah. I did it. I don't think I tripped over it, but I said, can I do it again? No, sorry, man, keep going. And then I came back, sat down with Colin Power, did a bunch of stuff. And producer said to me afterwards, man, he goes, they were a little nervous about bringing you out here because you were untested, never been on screen before. You know, people didn't know, like, you're gonna freeze up. Like, almost did. Heard about that fucking airport story. But he said, no, you'd be proud. He goes, you hit a home run, and we'll try to do some other stuff with you. He goes, I've been a producer here for 3 years. This is a tough door to crack. But he recommended me for a late night show a year later called Unite, which was on at midnight. And he had me do a highlight of the best jams, dunks of 2013. And actually, that was the first job the Rockets actually wasn't one of my cold calls. The guy from the Rockets had seen that and brought me in to do that. And the other nice thing, to pat myself on the back, but just for the first time I ever did a highlight was that Rockets thing. They have an award show at the end of the year for all Major League Sports best in-game video presentation. That was #1 for all 4 Major League Sports.
Nice.
First time out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, me and airports, man. Woo.
Hey, thanks for coming out. I love your improv.
Thanks.
And I think you should have your own show on ESPN and do.
Dude, thank you.
Do like Sports Center Top 10 or some highlight reels. Having your voice on, I think would be amazing. But my question is, if we can get one more, he's on fire.
Oh yeah. By the way, for the 25th anniversary, which is something that I did kind of make happen because I was doing the cold calls and the guy on the Clippers, I said, it's the 25th anniversary, and kind of said, maybe we could, and that turned into NBA Jam Day for the Clippers, and they've got some good marketing people there. ESPN heard about it, picked up some of the interviews I was doing about possibly NBA Jam coming back, because there was a little bit of hope at that point for a few reasons that I thought it might. Once that surfaced, that became a big social media thing. Like Voice of NBA Jam says NBA Jam might come back 25th anniversary. LA Clippers NBA Jam Day, all this stuff. So then ESPN Sports Center called my agent. They had me do a week's worth of teasers for the last NBA game of the season. And then that day they had hashtag NBA Jam Day all day, both TV and on their internet site, and interviewing players, your favorite teams, favorite duos,
Oh, that's really cool.
articles, and then they did 2 of my highlights on Sports Center. Then Stan and Neil came back and like, oh, that BOOMSHAKALAKA guy, big blocker, I gotta write some of those down. And the other guy, I already am. That was my big moment.
Yeah,
Oh, he's on fire!
they're probably afraid of losing their job when they heard you.
If anyone's hardcore NBA Jam, I did realize something when I recorded the first arcade version. That's one version. Then I told you about going to do the second version for Acclaim and for the home video games. And I remember in the studio, the guy saying, there's just not much memory. This isn't like the arcades. Like, things have to be really condensed, so you can't, you gotta really shorten some of the phrases. So when I don't play my own video games, I don't play video games in general, so it took me a long time when I go to tournaments and hearing, like when they're doing console play for a tournament versus the arcade machine, I go, oh, that sounds different. Like a singer, like I didn't remember what the inflection was or how I hit something. Why are they so different? I go, oh, duh, because there was 2 different recording sessions. So if you're playing the arcade, like, you're like, you know, he's on fire! It's on one of them, like, that sounds stupid, that's the way it is. Then, he's on fire! Like, different cadences, different inflections, but I never tried to repeat or copy myself, and as I get older, I just do what, you know, what feels like I get a little fire in my belly, and whatever that guy did 30 years ago, God bless him, you know? And it is bizarre to be the guy. 17 years later, as I said, where I'm kind of like living in obscurity, and you know, I go back in the booth at EA Sports, they go, Tim, can you give us a couple, you know, volume levels? You know, we're going to do some of the calls, you know, make sure we're, BOOMSHAKALAKA, he's heating up! And I went, in my head, I just went, I sound just like that guy. It was really a surreal moment because I didn't walk around, I wasn't doing shows, and I'm not using that voice, and to hear a good headset, I was like, that's cool. It's like, it's a bizarre feeling, like I'm that guy. And I still, when I walk by an arcade machine, it's really a crazy kind of feeling, like, and I do feel kind of that disembodiment, like, who's that guy? Wow, he's pretty good. And I do have respect for like how I was able to just kind of fall into something, not realizing any pressure or mantle of like what it was to become, whatever. Just, you know, like I come in here, just let stuff riff, and that's how I roll, baby. What else we got? All right, what else can I tell you? I'll tell you some stories. I'll tell you my first story. Starting at, people always say, well, how'd you get your start in the business? And it's always related to like, you know, how did you start in video games? But I think like my start in the business, like, you know, really starting to learn what the world of like working, the hard head lunch pail, like working. So I'm in college in the summer. Well, it actually relates to like when people say, well, why don't you play video games? I said, well, I went to a college where I had a work-study program trying to work off $500 toward my tuition for the year. And that came in like 8 hours a week doing odd jobs. One of the jobs was at night, security guy, dispatcher in the basement of the on-campus museum. Friday night, everybody else is, you know, Friday, hey, where we going? We do this. I'm going to the basement of a museum on campus to dispatch cars to give tickets and this nonsense. And I found that they had some cheap wine in the basement because it was a on-campus museum, so when they would have their little wine and cheese parties for the museum, they'd have wine in there. And there was a dirty magazine that the other security guard, you know, left in the drawer. So it was really just disgusting, the idea of like, I'm 20 years old, like Friday night, cheap wine in a, you know, an old penthouse or something. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Did you ask me this question? What the fuck is wrong? This guy's out of his fucking mind. So, and I remember one time there was a woman, like, yeah, it's vehicle one. We got a car that needs to be towed. I had to call the tow truck company, whatever, and then the person called me back and my car was towed and this and that. It's like, my father's in a wheelchair and I just parked out in front of the door for a little while. And I go, yeah, that sucks. And I was drunk and I was just empathizing. We were like, yeah, these guys are idiots. And they didn't even notice? I mean, did they even, why would they? And I get a call from the commander, you know, she told the commander or whatever that I was telling her that they were idiots. And so anyway, I'm rambling here. So I'm making $2.75 an hour, maybe less. So when I go to the bar and a beer, whatever, was 75 cents, I played Pac-Man a few times, then I'm going for my pocket to get it was a quarter beer night on Wednesday night. It was like, I only got 2 quarters left, 2 beers left. I can't play video games. And that was it. It was kind of, the decision was right there when you're making, you know, 18 bucks a week. But then in the summertime, I had a job on campus where I was painting all the dormitory rooms from Monday through Friday. And then on Friday night, I would go to a country club where I got a job as a waiter. It was $100,000 to join Westchester high-end country club. Like think, you know, like a Hollywood movie, you know, it was a crazy kind of situation where I had never waited tables before, and here was my experience. And there was these old ladies that had worked there for like 30 years. And my first day on the job, I get a guy who's whining about his cappuccino or something. And I asked for the cappuccino to have just a little foam. This is not enough foam. I wasn't even making it, whatever. He's crying about his cappuccino. And then I'm getting him some bagels. He goes, and this bagel, it has to be thinly sliced with extra butter. Okay, extra butter. For some reason, we had to butter the bagels in the kitchen. They couldn't even butter their own bagels. I go back, bring the bagel. He goes, oh, no. This isn't what I asked for. This is going back. And this old lady B, like this, like a goddamn fire hydrant or a little, you know, barrel of wine, like beehive hairdo and the cat-eye glasses and this blue outfit with the apron up to here. She's all like 4 feet tall. She goes, "What's the matter, hon?" She got her tray. And the guy goes, "I'd asked for my bagel with extra butter, and this is what he brings." And she goes, "Yeah, no worries, hon, I got it." She goes, "Come with me." Goes into the kitchen, in the swinging doors, up to the line. Ton of people Sunday morning, 300 people for brunch. She goes, "Okay, you want some extra butter?" She pulls up her outfit and she grabs it. She's got the girdle on and she grabs the bagel and she goes, "Here's your fucking butter, honey. Here's your extra fucking butter." Like in a Hollywood movie when you cannot believe that everybody in the kitchen would stop and do the... Because it's a Hollywood thing. No one stops in real life to do the chef. Everybody. And then she just drops it. She takes it. She goes, "Come on, hon." She goes back to the table. She goes, "Here ya, hon. Extra butter." I learned. We have the power. Now listen, we have the power. 40 years later, I'll never forget it, man. It was the show of a lifetime. Best performance I've ever seen. And you know, if that was in a movie done right, that's the clip you talk about forever. It was real. I'm the girdle with the extra butter. Yeah. So that's how I got into the industry of tables. Here's your extra butter. Think of that next time. I need some more butter. I'm sorry if there are children in here.
It's the late show, so you're good.
And it's funny, at that country club, I was at a fine arts conservatory, art school, Purchase College. My roommate was Stanley Tucci, by the way, and Vin Raines, you know, and he's now the voice of Arby's. He was another guy in the class. And it was a good school, a lot of talent. And there was a girl who worked at a country club. Her father was the Nick Marikas, the Greek owner. And she was an opera singer, you know, and I was an actor, whatever. And she got this idea, like, hey, we should do a talent show into the season for all these people we've waited on all summer. So they wanted me to be the MC and do some stand-up or whatever. And of all the things in life where I say, you just gotta go for it, go for it. I got nervous. Could I do it? Could I, you know, really put it together, focus? And for a few days, I said, I'm kind of busy. I was doing this 5 day a week, and I'm working, painting. They convinced me to do it, and thank God. So I went up there with a couple notes that I'd been scribbling during the week on the little the guest check order thing of things that I saw. And I went in, and I thought I was gonna do like 10 minutes, like this thing. Ended up doing 40 minutes a day in the life of me, from waking up in the morning to going home at night, and all the different things, but I didn't do the butter thing. But I did the other stuff, and I saw people going like, "That's me, I was the one who said that." Like they were stars. And I played around with, and it was like, I got a taste of, you know, playing with the crowd. And I always thought that I should have gone into stand-up, but I thought it was a lonely life. And Second City, the working with people, improvisation, being in theater, I liked working with people. And that was the explosion of comedy all around the country, you know, 80s, you know, when I got out of college in Chicago, just tons of clubs. But if you listen to the stories, it's a really hard circuit. You know, you're just traveling, and the competition, you know, they're all looking at you like, you know, I don't want to go on after him. It's just so competitive. So I'm glad I wound up doing what I did, and that's that. So, well, how should we end this thing? You guys have anything else? I'm going to let you go early today, class, because you've been so good. It's nice weather outside. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll have those papers graded for you next Wednesday. You're saying after class, detention. You two are in detention. Right. Guys, thank you so much. A pleasure. We'll see you next year.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and to the right are the playlist of the Portland Retro 2022 and some other interesting videos. Thank you.